So today I have the pleasure of sitting with, speaking to, and interviewing Dr. Robin Richardson. Dr. Richardson is a Harvard University educated economist, chartered financial analyst, former Canadian Member of Parliament. For many years, Robin was senior economist with the Toronto Dominion Bank and National Research Director and Chief Economist of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. And for more than 30 years, Dr. Richardson has built a very successful funeral planning business in the Upper Fraser Valley and on Vancouver Island. He's a graduate of the Life Appreciation Institute, highly recommended by funeral business professionals. And he is also a certified pre-planning consultant, a designation placing him in the top rank of advanced funeral planning professionals in both the United States and in Canada. Dr. Richardson gives his clients free, independent advice on all aspects of funeral, cremation, and cemetery planning, including green burials, government and veterans benefits, organ donations, obituary preparation, and how to get started on a celebration of life eulogy. Today, Dr. Richardson is representing Getting Your Affairs in Order and will speak to us about thoughtful funeral and cemetery planning, which, as he says, is a loving gift for your family. He'll also introduce us to a couple of extra services that his company represents, the Final Documents Service, which will greatly assist the executor of your estate, and a unique worldwide travel plan to return your body from anywhere in the world. Welcome, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you, Becky. It's good to be here.
So this is amazing information, and you've got a wealth of experience. So of all this, my first question with everything you've done in your life is, why do you do what you do today?
Well, Peggy, I really enjoy it because it helps so many people. And basically, I feel I'm performing a public service in a private manner. My feeling is that everybody, man, woman, and child in Canada and elsewhere should pre-plan their funeral and their final arrangements. The greatest satisfaction I have is that when I go in and I'm meeting with a couple, man and woman, and the husband's really not too with it, and I hear things like his body language is, like this, and he's saying, oh, just burn me up and throw me in the garbage can, and his wife is just cringing. But after an hour or so with them, and I explain the bereavement process and all the benefits, both emotional and financial, of pre-planning your funeral, he's totally with it. And his body language has totally changed. He's right on the same page with his wife, and his wife is just beaming. And they thank me, and he shakes my hand and he says, "Oh, Dr. Robin, I'm so glad that you came and shared all this information. I've got them signed up and they're taken care of. They have peace of mind." So that's why I do it.
Wonderful. And you can see that aha moment, can you, when you're sitting in that appointment?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Wow. Amazing.
Honestly, not all husbands are like that, but some are. I do hear some horror stories, but some husbands are quite with it. They know that they're helping their wife, because on average, Peg, women still live about 5 years longer than men. So there's far more widows around than widowers. So husband who really loves his wife is going to help him, get this done, because likely she's going to be the one that benefits first from it.
Yes. So you are selling, as they say, peace of mind, really, is what you're selling.
There's a lot of emotional benefits and a lot of financial benefits, which I'll explain later. But the bottom line is peace of mind. So planning for peace of mind is what you should really do if you love your family.
Very good. Very true. And so why, to you, tell us in your words, why is memorialization important?
Well, memorialization is basically, it comes down to the visual. It helps you to cope with loss, visual expression, whether it's at the funeral or at the cemetery or both. It allows us to cope with loss, expressing important personal insights, declaring belief in faith, and conveying social values. I'm going to give you an example, a personal example. Our daughter, Pam, who lives with us, she was very close to her grandfather on my wife Jackie's side. He's buried in St. Catharines, Ontario. Now, Jackie and I, a few years ago, were going out to St. Catharines for a wedding, and Pam gave us some money to put flowers on her grandpa's grave. She's never seen his grave, but that was very important for her that we do a visitation and place some flowers on her grandpa's grave. She could visualize it. Well, we did take some pictures and things for her too, but this is what was really important to her. So visualization is important. And when we get into the planning of the funeral, there's a lot of things that I'm going to tell you about that will really help, in terms of the visualization, making it a meaningful celebration of life. We're getting away from the term funeral.
Yes.
Whether it's a cremation or a traditional, much more a celebration of life. And I certainly help my clients prepare a celebration of life memorial for the service.
So what are some of the other benefits to pre-planning through yourself and getting your affairs in order?
The benefits? Well, the benefits are many. On the emotional side, it's basically it settles your choice. It prevents emotional overspending, which I guess is a bit of a financial benefit, and it prevents arguments or hassles with your relatives. So this is the emotional side. On the financial side, it's very inexpensive, where our company has many options to pay for it, and there's no medical required. Even if you've had cancer or whatever, then you even recently we can sign you up on this. Very inexpensive, and also it protects totally against inflation, which is very important, because funeral costs and cemetery costs tend to double about every 10 years in North America. Actually, cremation costs double about every 6 or 7 years. So if you could freeze the cost, that's really important. And then I'll tell you later, there's a tax shelter aspect. You can set aside up to $35,000 in a tax shelter, $15,000 for your funeral services and $20,000 for your cemetery services, for a total of $35,000. There's absolutely no tax on it. And so at the time of death, if there's a little bit left over, it forms your estate, but anything for the funeral and cemetery is totally tax-free. Most financial estate planners don't know a single thing about this provision of the Income Tax Act, but I do, and I certainly present that to my clients. So the tax shelter, as you mentioned, I used to be chief economist and national research director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. So I'm there to save you taxes. I don't think the government should get more than they honestly should have.
Now, speaking of the finances, I heard you mention a little bit earlier that in pre-planning, you can actually prepay.
Oh, yes. Well, the options we have a unique plan, insurance plan. You can actually make a single payment. You can prepay the whole thing. And it's guaranteed by the funeral home. I got to say that, this is an important guarantee. And also then if you wanted a time pay, you could do it on a monthly basis for 3 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, which is the most common. 10 years is the most. And if you're a little bit younger, you can do it for 15 years or for 20 years. So for a very modest amount of monthly payment, you can do it. Of course, because it's insurance, if I sign you up and you get hit by a truck the next day, heaven forbid, then it pays the whole thing out. But there's an end in sight on it. It's not like, you're paying for the rest of your life. And then I stress that also, there's no medical required. I have to ask a couple medical questions. But if you had some problems in the last 2 years, then you'll still get the plan. But if you die within the first 2 years, then they'll return all of the money that you paid into it. And secondly, if you die by accident anytime, even in that 2-year period, then it pays up the full amount. So it's very good. The other thing with our plan, it increases every year. So let's say you had a $5,000 plan, it's going to go up each year. Your coverage goes up each year. It's simple interest. It's not compound, but it goes up. So that, when you die, say 30 years later, there's a lot more than the $5,000 in there.
Mm.
So it is a very unique plan. In fact, my company has the best plan of any company in this field in Canada and the United States. And we do the most business by far of anybody. The other thing is our plan is totally guaranteed against loss. We, there's a company we belong to that it's like with the banks, they assure you up to $60,000, but in ours, it's any amount that you have is totally insured against loss. Also, it's good anywhere in the world. So if you move from, let's say I live in Victoria, but you move to Vancouver or you move to Toronto or you move somewhere else, then we just transfer the plan. The money's with the insurance companies, not with the funeral home.
Speaking of anywhere around the world, you mentioned earlier something about a travel assistance plan.
Yes.
How does that work?
That's very important too. And our again, we have a unique worldwide, I call it the Worldwide Travel Assistance Plan. And this is if you die anywhere beyond 100 kilometers of where you live, your principal residence, whether it's in Canada or in the States, then my company will, if you have our little travel plan, it's for a very modest cost. You just have to make one phone call. You've passed away, but your traveling companion, or show your little card. You have a card in your wallet to your, say the hotel that you're staying at, or if I pass away, then call this number, and the company there will pay for everything. Now, this can be really expensive because in Cuba and Mexico, now we're not traveling right now because of COVID, but in Cuba and Mexico, if you die, those governments charge you $10,000 US for the privilege of sending your body out of their country. Then there's the cost of the funeral home. Let's say it's Puerto Vallarta, a funeral home there to prepare your body for shipment. That costs some money. And then the airlines have a special container for shipping bodies. That costs money. The airline itself. So all of these costs are taken care of. Plus, it has a unique feature in the sense that your traveling companion can travel back for free with your mortal remains. So this is the thing, and you don't have to worry about collecting receipts from that funeral home in Vertala. The company that does this with my company or for my company takes care of all of that detail. So it's really just a few $100, and you're totally covered for the rest of your life if you should die on vacation or on a trip, maybe a business trip or whatever.
Let's pray we can go on vacation soon. Let's pray we can do that.
So most of my clients take that travel plan, and of course the final document service too.
So tell us about the final document service. So the final document service really benefits my executor. Is that correct?
Oh yes, this is again has some very unique features. It's called the final document service, and what happens there is that if you have that, again, it's just a few $100, then everything that your executor has to do is being done by final document service professionals. So there's about 200 possibilities, not just canceling your passport. They do that, cancel your health card, all the things, but they actually review other countries. So, some people here are in Canada from Great Britain, so they review things there, benefits and all the rest, so that you're not missing anything. And let me give you one example, just one example. And this is fairly recently. I talked to a funeral home owner here in Victoria, and a man had come in with an insurance policy for his father. His father had died 10 years earlier. I call that an orphan insurance policy. The father hadn't told his son, who was the executor, about this insurance policy, but somehow they discovered it, and here it was. So now if the father 10 years ago had the final document service, final documents professionals would have called every insurance company in Canada to see if there was an insurance policy in the name of the deceased. So they would have known right at the time as executor that there was this, whatever the amount was, insurance policy. So that's just one of many, many. The other one that a lot of people don't realize, practically every Canadian now has a credit card. I started at the TD Bank actually back in the late 60s as their senior economist. That's when Visa came in, you know, but now it's everybody. So if you're collecting travel miles on your credit card or a cash and you die, if you contact the credit card company within 30 days of your death, then those benefits can be transferred to your estate. Now, most people don't know that, so they just lose whatever they've been saving for that big trip, and they don't do it. Now, Final Documents Service will check all of the credit cards. All it is, it's one phone call. They make a phone call from London, Ontario, that's where they're based, to your executor, find out the information, you know, the credit cards, blah, 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 you know, get all that information, and then they'll do all the work for the executor. And they'll send it. They'll do all the documentation for the government. They'll send everything that needs signature from the executor. You know, they'll courier that to his home or her home. And so it's just really very good, and it's unique. And one of the unique features in it is that it's not just for the deceased, but for you. If you, it gives you. It restores your identity if your identity has been stolen. And nowadays, people are getting their identity stolen. You read about Equifax, you know, all sorts of Hudson's Bay, all sorts of companies have been hacked, and you know, your identity is stolen. So if that has happened to you and you have the Final Document Service while you're alive, not when you die, then the people at Final Documents will work as long as they need to restore your credit with the credit rating agencies in Canada and the United States.
Wow, that's incredible too. That's another
incredible.
invaluable service.
There's nothing like it.
Wow,
there's nothing like it out there. The same thing with the travel plan.
Yes.
Like it.
Wow. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. So on the note of the executor, you're going to talk about a survey that we're sending out, and then I'm going to show the people that we have in terms of the executor. We have this lovely, it's called the emergency kit is what we're calling it. It is a $175 value on our website. And Dr. Robin is going to tell you about a survey that if you fill it out and send it back to us, you will be put in the draw to win this. There you go, 45 essential steps on the front. Dr. Robin, would you like to tell us about the survey?
Well, the survey is basically a checklist. Well, one thing we'd really like you to do is just let us know whether you like the presentation, because we can always improve on it, and we want your reactions to that. And the checklist covers things, you know, like I've talked about. I didn't mention also that there's a $35,000 tax shelter relating to funeral and cemetery. So if you're interested in more information on that one, check it off. And green burial, you didn't have time, but there's definitely a trend toward green burial. And, you know, I can explain all of those things to you as well. So just check that off and get it back to us. I think you're going to be able to do it online. And then, you know, and also at the end of it, if you want to meet with me to discuss this, I usually meet in people's homes. A little hard right now, but when we can, I'd be glad to come over and discuss everything with you and answer all of your questions in this very sensitive but very, very important area.
Very important. Very important. Thank you so much, Dr. Robin. You have so much information. I know that people are going to reach out to you, and we will share your contact information with people who don't have it. And then don't forget to look for your survey on your email to win this lovely prize, again, valued at $175 on our website. But again, thank you so much, Dr. Robin, for all of the information. I loved, I've spoken to you before, and I would like you to share, if you could, that lovely phrase from John Wesley.
Yes. Well, John Wesley was an evangelist in England, a minister, Church of England, but he had a 50-year ministry and actually started a revival in England. And he had a very famous sermon on money, which I like very much. And his sermon was, here's a secret to managing your money. Earn all you can. That would be honestly. You don't want to be a drug dealer. Save all you can. That's where an economist comes in, like myself. And give all you can. Now, I really like the last part because I also specialize in planned giving. And I will tell you about that too. So you can set aside in our policies up to 3 times the amount of your funeral and up to 3 times the amount of your cemetery. Very, very low cost. And you can make the beneficiary your church or some other nonprofit organization, or your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. And it's just a good extra thing to do. So your legacy can live on beyond your death.
What a great way to end this presentation.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Take care, Dr.
Peggy,
Robin.
for the opportunity.